this is Kimball Joyner, and welcome to the final presentation for HABESHA Urban Green Jobs Green Ambassadors. Moke. This is a presentation where we're going to focus on the watershed and the importance of green infrastructure practices that mimic the watershed and filter the water so that we can have clean water and feed our foods that we grow at our farms and at our gardens. Also want to talk about the maintenance of these projects and these green infrastructure installations in urban communities. Who cares for these spaces and so that they're maintained for generations to come. So I'm going to get started by introducing a really interesting example of this usage of water, and it's from Stephanie Simmons at Gaia Farms, Love is Love Farms.
So hopefully y'all have been to different sites and seen rainwater collection happening on different scales. You know, some places might just have a barrel, some places might have a tank, some places might have a cistern. We have an open pond. So this is where water, the rain comes, and then a lot of water at the elevation that it's at from all around will feed into the pond. So basically, to answer your question, the pond was dug as part of this property, the planning of this whole farm site, for that specific purpose, to irrigate.
We spoke with Brother Charles over at our place, HABESHA Garden, and we talked about the involvement that the community and community leaders and garden leaders worked alongside with the city and Urban Green Jobs to install a wonderful GI, green infrastructure process to water and feed the food over at that garden.
We are here in the city of Atlanta. Where we are right now, we are in Mechanicsville. So we're literally like in the heart of the city. In a lot of neighborhoods in the city of Atlanta, Atlanta has a sewer system that's known as a combined sewer system, or at least we used to. We're still doing some neighborhoods, mostly our neighborhoods. So Mayor Shirley Franklin, she was very big on, segregating those sewer systems. So basically what a combined sewer system is where your storm water runs off into and where your sewage runs through is basically using the same pipes. So what happens is when you have a lot of rain in urbanized areas, we have a lot of concrete, we have a lot of impermeable material is what they call it. Yep. So basically that interrupts the natural water cycle in which the precipitation will go back into the ground and then evaporate. So basically all that water has to travel and go somewhere. And so when it overflows, when they have heavy rains in the city, it overflows, and that sewage used to spill back out into the streets and the people's yards, etc. And like I say, in certain areas in the city, it still does. The city came in 2014, they installed this rain garden, also known as a bioretention pond. And what this is designed to do is basically mimic nature's natural processes, i.e. the water cycle, right? So what happens is, if you see this parking lot right here, this is the parking lot adjacent to HABESHA Garden, the Shelter and Arms daycare parking lot. The parking lot is pitched in such a way that when it rains, the water is channeled down into drains, including this one right here. Most of it is actually diverted into this drain from this parking lot, as far as I can tell. So basically what happens is it collects in this collection pond. Also you have direct rainfall falling into this rain garden area, this bioretention pond, or something like that. Also because of different sediment and debris that may collect down in here, we wanted to be able to filter it before it got to the pump as well. So we have a little filter system in there that we check periodically.
So now we're getting to my particular community here in Vine City and the implementation of a green infrastructure that was a pretty big project. It was a project that was implemented because of a major problem of people living in a flood zone. And for many years, many people's homes were flooded because of the impervious surfaces in the city, and the water would just flood right into people's homes in this area. And now we do have a park in the area. People were displaced or moved in order to create the park, but at any case, right now it is like a big bowl set up to collect that water and not allow anyone to be flooded again. So I'll introduce you to Rodney Cook Senior Park in historic Vine City. Well, we've got some very important factors to think about when it comes to engaging the community and boosting stakeholdership in a project like stewarding the park and keeping it clean. And one of the things that I thought would be great is to tap into some of the social media resources that are available. We have a community Instagram page, and invite people to the things and the events that the Conservancy would host. And I feel like we could also go door to door for some of our other residents that do not engage on social medias or things of that nature, and email lists and things of that nature. But to certainly get the word out that we as a community will be working together and having a good time. I think that things like a good usage of the park and a good gathering of the people would be a good incentive. Like we could all go to the park and have a nice sponsorship to watch a good movie at the park together. And then boost awareness and boost. So this is a piece where I'd like to engage one of the pillars of our community, Mr. Tillman Ward. He's a wonderful resource and has been to me a wonderful neighbor here in the Vine City community, and I just wanted him to talk and speak on some of the ideas about community involvement, about the idea of a conservancy, and some of his knowledge about the way that the community has been governed in the past. So I'm going to take you to meet Mr. Tillman Ward now.
Well, it was a situation where we had flooding, and after the development, some of the development immediately west of Marietta Street, which leads into Lightning and then Vine City, it was flooding beyond the ordinary. And we had a council person that lived in the neighborhood, Councilman Ivor Young,
Yes.
who I met in the 80s and invited him to come live in Vine City, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of understood the flooding and was able to share with the powers that be that this was a little bit more than an average flooding. And with his work and the work of others in the community, they developed what they felt, or we all felt, could be a win-win situation. You would correct the flooding, create a retention pond, which grew into a park, and later, as you can see, grew into a signature park. And in such a development, the thinking is that, is it going to be so signature that the community does not benefit from its, I'm creating a word, signaturarity. So,
Yeah, the solution to to the maintenance of these spaces is the commitment from the community. And I hypothesize and hope that we can create a community-based conservancy that looks over and cares for the parks in our community, stewards them, and keeps them clean and keeps them clean and healthy spaces for our communities to use. I had some ideas as far as community engagement that is important, and of course that is to be present at the association meetings and to boost awareness of an involvement with the stewardship of the parks in the neighborhood. I also feel that with the establishment of a conservancy, we would be able to use city resources to sponsor events and host gatherings for the community to build stakeholdership and involvement in the community as well, to keep the park clean and wonderful and serviceable for the community. Thank you for listening, and thank you for enjoying this information that we've collected. We talked about the watershed and the watershed management and the importance of green infrastructure to mimic the natural watershed in the urban areas. We also talked about the smart best practices of repurposing water, using the water. It's a resource that is just within itself, and most importantly, we talked about the challenges of maintaining these green infrastructures, and we introduced you all to the Rodney Cook Bioswale Park that is basically here to stay to keep us from flooding. But I also would like to talk about the people that have implemented these best practices for green infrastructure on a global scale. There are folks that are, I guess, pretty famous that do it and all that kind of stuff, but they're the folks that are right amongst us that are doing it, and those are the people who have inspired me. And so I'd just like to highlight the folks that are right here close to us and doing it, doing the work and making a difference, and helping to send the water where it needs to be, and that is a nourishing and clean for our bodies and for our foods.